I'm Kathleen Barkel. I'm a senior instructional design consultant with Clear. Thank you for joining us today for the Great Smarter, not harder with Canvas SpeedGrader session. Our speakers today are Lori Morrow, Associate Director of Instructional Design, and Dr. Aubrey Stearns, Director of Faculty Development. Over the next hour, we're going to explore how SpeedGrader can help you provide more meaningful feedback and streamline your grading, making grading more efficient. Next slide, please. Thank you. Before we get into the SpeedGrader information, Dr. Stearns will discuss formative incentive assessments along with rubrics. We will then continue by exploring how to access SpeedGrader, navigate its interface, add comments and annotations, apply rubrics, and manage grades. Feel free to utilize the chat to post your questions as we go. I'll be acting as moderator by monitoring the chat, aggregating your questions, and posing them to our speakers intermittently throughout the presentation. Without further ado, I'll turn our presentation over to Aubrey.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Aubrey. I know so many of you from our workshops and our institutes. Thank you all for being here. Happy Thursday. We made it to Thursday. Before we get started, so I know everybody's here to learn Canvas tools, and that's the purpose of the session. As the Director of Faculty Development, I have to just ground us in the reason for the tools, right? The reason for the tech. So we're going to talk about assessment just super briefly to just get us started off. So before we do that, let's do a little waterfall chat activity. So what a waterfall chat is you don't hit enter yet. So you put your answer in the chat, but you don't hit enter until I say go. And then we see it like waterfall down. We see everybody's answer. So go ahead and answer this question in the chat. What does assessment look like in your classes? I'm going to be quiet for a minute so you can think, and then don't hit enter yet. And then when I say go, we'll all hit enter at the same time. Okay, what does assessment look like in your classes? Okay, that should be enough time. So on your mark, get set, go, hit enter. Woo, this is so much fun. I'm such a geek. All right, I'm going to read some of these. These are great. In my class, assessment looks like quizzes, discussion posts, a final paper, nice written reports so you have to manually grade. Whoa, thumbs down. That's why we're here, right? Is to save time. Graded rubrics and comments, multiple small scale. Of course, it's Kara Fulton. Multiple small scale practice assignments, the final assessment at the end, all low stakes grade. Great, Kara. Um, Progress reports, asking students to describe their learning and discussions or quizzes, creating projects, reports, deliverables, quizzes, and case studies. Ooh, that's a new one. Case studies, a lot of a lot of work. Orhan, hey, Orhan, good to see you here. Um, Automatic and sometimes manual question and answer tests with some critical thinking assignments. Nice. A numbered grade, usually based on percentage, quizzes, discussions, summative. Ooh, look at Tandra with the summative lingo. Discussions, quiz, and then we've got exams, graded worksheets. I don't know if I can read all these, y'all. We have so many people here today. Um, iClicker, Nice Dan, and rubric-based assessments. Well, y'all don't need me. You guys are pros already with assessment. This is great. We're going to touch on all of this. Next slide, please, Lori. So just to kind of like ground assessment, like why we grade, we're going high level, we're just kind of starting at the basics. So in every syllabus, there should be course outcomes, right? By the end of this course, students should be able to successfully do these things. And then it's, we go to Bloom's or we have verbs of what students can do that is measurable. So it's skills or knowledge that they learn in the class that's measurable. And this is what we promise to them that if they successfully complete the class, they'll be able to do. So then we kind of break it down from there and we create objectives. at the unit level or the module level or however your class is organized. And so we have objectives that map back to those syllabus level course outcomes. Okay, and then from those objectives, this is how we determine how to create assessments or activities or discussions or case studies or all of the things that you all mentioned to measure students' application of those skills and or that knowledge. So two main bucket ways, and we saw this in the chat with your responses, formative and summative, right? So formative is Kara mentioned your low stakes assignments. You give students lots of opportunities, in-class activities, informal quizzes, discussions, so many different things they can do to practice applying the skills and the knowledge. And usually they're low stakes, lots of opportunities for feedback, and this is where students build those muscles to be able to do the things that we say they're going to be able to do in the course outcomes. And then summative assessments are usually a little more power laden. There are more points associated. They're usually bigger. They're a culmination of the skills they learn throughout the course. It might be a big project. It might be a paper. It might be an exam. Next slide, please. And then the only other thing I'm going to talk about around assessment, because we are talking about grading today, and we are going to hear a little bit about the rubrics with SpeedGrader, is just a rubric. So a rubric is a transparent way to let students know how we're going to look for their demonstration of the skills and knowledge. It provides super clear expectations, details around why they get the scores they're going to get. Everybody's graded the same way objectively. And so it's like it makes it easy for everyone, right? It can also lessen your labor, your instructor labor around feedback, particularly with SpeedGrader, because you can set up rubrics in Canvas. Um, and I always tell students to use the rubric like you would a recipe. Like if you're going to make brownies, what are you going to do? You're going to read the recipe before you start making the brownies to make sure that you've got all the ingredients, you have the skills you need, right? And then while you're making the brownies, you're going to read the recipe to know what to do. And then after you're done, maybe you put them in the oven and you just want to check, did I leave anything out? Did I leave out the salt? Did I leave out the vanilla? And so rubrics can work the same way with students. Like read the rubric before, during, and after, and you'll get the grade you want. It can also allow instructors to observe trends and understanding, right? If you have everybody, if you have like 40% of your class that miss a particular criteria, what does that tell you? Maybe a little more instruction or different kinds of instruction is needed in that area. And I think that's my last slide. Next slide, please. Yep, I'm going to hand it over to Lori.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. What is SpeedGrader? Oops. It's a Canvas's built-in tool for reviewing and grading student submissions and providing feedback all in one place. Instead of downloading files, opening them up in different applications, and then uploading grades, SpeedGrader lets you do everything right inside of Canvas. You can view submissions, annotate directly on assignments, leave audio or video comments, use rubrics, and quickly move between students. If you haven't used it before, you will be surprised by how much time it does save. So the SpeedGrader can be accessed in several ways. You can access it, the way you access it is up to you. So you can access it from the landing page, the to-do list, assignment page, SpeedGrader link, and gradebook. Accessing it from the gradebook is the most logical since you are there to complete the task of grading. So let's take a look at the SpeedGrader window. In the top portion of the screen, you will actually see the green ribbon. And at the far left in the top corner, you'll see the notebook icon, and it'll take you out of the SpeedGrader and back into the gradebook. So it just makes it easy to move between the SpeedGrader and the gradebook. And the second image next to it is this little eye. And that eye will actually provide you the option to hide the grades from the students or show the grades. The default is actually showing students their grades. The next icon is the settings icon. And you have several options here. You can sort students in just about any way you want. You can hide student names so you could grade anonymously. And then there's a couple of discussion options, and you can also see the keyboard shortcuts and the help guide right there in the settings option. In the middle of the screen, my cursor is hovering over graded. So in this example, one paper has been graded out of 3. And right next to it is the average score. I've only graded one paper, so that score and the average are the same. So that's 96 out of 100 points. And I'm looking at student 3 out of 3. So all of your students are assigned a number, and my test student is student 3. So this will help you know exactly where you're at in your list. And then you have a drop down box. So if I click on this little down arrow, it'll drop down and I can see all my students and I can choose which student I want to grade next. Or I can use the arrow pointing to the right that's on the far right corner of the screen, and it will advance me to the next student automatically in the list. In the next ribbon, we will see it's a gray ribbon, and right underneath that notebook icon is a download option. So you can download the paper if you like. It's not necessary, but once you have all your annotations on your paper and you want to save all of your graded papers, you can download it and it will save the annotations for you. So that's very helpful. To the right of that, you have the page option where you can advance to the next page, go back and forth. And then you have an option to rotate the screen. So in some instances, you can actually upload an image, and maybe there's a reason why you would want to rotate the screen. Or maybe the student uploaded their file sideways. That happens too. So you have that option to rotate the screen. You can zoom in or zoom out, or you have the option right here to expand to full screen mode. And then just to get out of full screen mode, you hit escape, and then you're back into the regular screen SpeedGrader screen. So underneath those options in the gray ribbon, you will start in seeing the annotation tools. So we have a pointer, we have this area right here that you can plan a message, you can highlight, you can add text, you have strike through, and then you can actually free draw, and then you can provide a square around a certain group of information on the actual paper. Part of being able to use the annotation tool in SpeedGrader is that the student actually has to upload either a PDF, a Word document, or an image. So we won't see the annotation tools in the discussions or the quizzes, but we will if the student actually uploads a file. If the student provides a text entry for their assignment, if you allow for text entry, then you will not see the annotation tools. Annotation tools are only for uploaded files. So I hope that is helpful. On the left-hand side of the screen in the middle, you'll actually see the student submission. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see all your feedback options. And we're going to take a look at these individually so we can talk a little bit more about it. But at this point, does anybody have any questions?
There's nothing posted in the chat, but I will post a link to the Canvas guys on how do I get to SpeedGrader from the various places within Canvas.
Sounds great. Thank you, Kathleen. So let's talk a little bit more about annotations. If a student, like I said, uploads a PDF or document or image, you're going to be able to access the annotation tools. Across the top of the submission viewer, you will see the annotation tools such as the points comment, highlighting, free draw, strike through, and the text boxes. So annotations make the feedback more contextual. Students see exactly where an issue occurs, so less miscommunication. Annotations also support modeling. Instructors can show examples, corrections, and alternatives right on the page. For example, you can highlight a sentence and leave a comment explaining what needs improvement, or you can circle an error using the free draw tool. These tools let you mark up the document much like you would on a physical paper. But there's still other feedback options available. We'll go to the next slide. So we're looking at the text feedback area. So it allows space for structured feedback. It keeps feedback organized, efficient for summarizing feedback, provides more precise feedback to students, encourages skill growth, and reduces miscommunication again. So as you see in the image, we have a place where we can type in all of our information and text feedback that we want to provide to the students. And we have our edit options available for these as well. And then in the upper right corner, you see this little comment that says 9 next to it. That is actually your comment library. You can create your most common comments in the comment library and have them available to use in any of your courses. Faster than recording audio and video when you need to give feedback to many students. You don't have to retype the same comment over and over. You just select it from the comment library. So it makes it really easy to manage getting that feedback into your course without having to do a lot of typing. So feedback icons explained. So you have other options for feedback besides entering text comments. Here are a few more options like the paperclip, video camera, which is also media, the audio icon, and the submit button. They can be found in the lower right corner of the SpeedGrader screen. The paperclip allows you to attach a document, something that has correct answers or tips for MLA or APA formatting. This is also good for feedback options for blind or visually impaired students. To the right of the paperclip, you will find the video camera media icon. Video feedback can be especially helpful for online students who benefit from hearing your tone and seeing your face. The media tool provides these options. You can enable or disable your webcam. So right here, whenever you have select on the media icon, that's this icon here, you will get options to select your video source or disable your webcam. So maybe you do not want to be in the video, but you want to have your microphone on. So in the select audio source, you make sure you have the correct microphone selected, or you could actually disable your microphone. And then the last option is screen capture. If you just want to provide a visual to the students on how to do something, you could provide, you could enable the screen capture option, and it will let you select which screen you want to capture. So if you wanted to select the SpeedGrader screen, you could actually walk the student through all of the annotations on their paper and make it more personalized for them. So you'll need to adjust your feedback type based on your students. If you have a deaf or hard of hearing student in your class, they could benefit from the written feedback, while a blind or visually impaired student may benefit from the audio feedback. It is important to point out text feedback is the most successful option. Know your audience and select the right feedback option for them. Lastly, you can attach a rubric to an assignment, discussion, or quiz. That rubric then flows directly into the SpeedGrader. If you built your rubric out with multiple criteria and detailed ratings, then you might not need to provide additional feedback. But you do have to create the rubric and attach it to the item if you want to use it to grade. So in my examples on the screen, this is the rubric screen inside of Canvas. And then I just took a screenshot of one of the rubrics that I'm using in the class today. And as you can see, we have criteria and then we have ratings and we have very detailed information in the ratings. I'm going to be truthful here and transparent. I put the assignment information in Copilot and had it create a rubric for me. And that was as simple a process as could happen. I just transferred that information directly into and create a new Canvas rubric. And I had a rubric that I didn't have to spend too much time thinking about, but it worked perfectly for my assignment because the assignment was the actual prompt to create the rubric. So something helpful to make your life a little bit easier going forward. We all have access to Copilot. It is our internal option for AI. And if you're using that, I would definitely recommend being transparent with your students, saying that you're using AI in your course as well. So let's jump out of here and look at my Canvas practice course.
While you're switching gears there, Lori, I think I just want to add from my own personal experience that I wouldn't assume that students will see the feedback. So it might be good to like send out an announcement and say, hey, I've graded your submissions. Make sure you're looking at the feedback. I know when I was teaching, I was sending a lot of announcements out or notices through Canvas, and I realized the students didn't have their notifications turned on, so it was kind of useless. So well, I think you kind of have to sort of get them trained to make sure they're looking at that feedback.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, my headset decided it was going to turn itself off for some reason. Now we're in my practice course. And as I had mentioned before, on your landing page of your course, whether it's this page, your welcome page, or your modules page, whatever is your landing page, on the right-hand side of the screen in the middle, you have a to-do list. And that to-do list actually has the papers, the quizzes, and discussions that you need to grade. So if I clicked on one of those items, it would actually pop me directly into the SpeedGrader. So it makes it very easy to access SpeedGrader right from your landing page. If I go back and I go to my modules area, there are a few other ways to access the SpeedGrader. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. To make it easy, I made a SpeedGrader assignments module and put all my assignments in one place just for the class today. And I'm looking at the Module 1 Planet paper. And if I go all the way across to the right to the More Actions menu, which is sometimes called the snowman, I click on it and I have the SpeedGrader option at the very top. And then that will pop me back into the SpeedGrader. Very easy. If I go to discussions, it will do the same thing, same option. And if I go to quizzes, I also have the same option. If I click on the paper itself, I'll have SpeedGrader in the upper right-hand corner available to use, and it'll pop me into SpeedGrader. The only caveat to this, if I click on discussions, I do not have a SpeedGrader option there, okay? It is in the assignments, and it is also available in quizzes. So if I click on quizzes, it'll pop up and show me the quizzes. Okay, let's take a look at Module 1 Planet paper. I'm going to go to my test student. And as you can see, it says 3 of 3. So this is my third student. This was my example inside of the PowerPoint presentation. And as you can see, I have highlights, I have free draw circles, I have a strike through, I have my comments over here on the right-hand side of the screen, or in the middle of the screen actually. And then at the very bottom, I put a box around the references and put a little note about your reference section was done correctly. So I provide the student with all the information that they need. So that's looking at just one that's been completed. I'm going to drag over all my information for the feedback area. That way everyone has the ability to see the full rubric that has been assigned. So whenever I went in and graded the paper, I did my annotations, and then I came back over here and I selected the correct responses for the assignment. So exceeds, and then once I selected it, it changed to 30 points automatically. If I want to change it, it automatically changes to 26 points out of 30. So it is very easy when you have a rubric and you have all the information and can see it all. It's very easy to grade. All you have to do is select the box, the cell that you want to use for grading, and it automatically updates the grades. So for this, we have all the grades in the rubric assigned. It is 96 points, and I can put 96 points here. Now, I just marked this as late because I wanted to show you something in the grade book. So since I marked this status as late, I also have excused, missing, late, and none. So none would be just a normal assignment. But since I marked it late, if I pop out and go into the grade book, it'll show that late assignment as blue. And then on discussion 2, this one is pink. It actually indicates that the assignment is missing. And then I also select one to be excused. So it has a yellow background. So anytime you select excuse back in the SpeedGrader, it will take that assignment out of the student's total grades and it won't count against the student. So that's something that you can definitely do right in the SpeedGrader function. We'll go back into SpeedGrader and look at the test student again. And that was just by selecting the different options under status. Okay, so as I scroll down, you have a couple of different options for viewing your rubric. You can do traditional. You can do horizontal. So you can look at each of those and select which box, which rating that you want. And then you also have vertical. So you can select on the left-hand side which rating that you want to choose. So you have several different options for viewing your rubric. I'm going to go back to traditional. And then at the bottom of the screen, I put in some comments. Your paper is nicely formatted. Great job. This is exactly what I wanted to see for the assignment. I gave a little applause. And I just added in more sources could be used. And then I created a video. I'm not going to show the video, but I will show you how I did the video. Here's the feedback area as I type in. I hit submit, and that saves another comment. Okay. So if I click the comment library, it pops out, and I have all of these different comments that I could choose. I could say this paper is nicely formatted, but when I do that, I have to submit it. And if I want to add another comment from the library, I click on it and have to submit it. I can't go through the full comment library and select all the ones at one time, all the options at one time, and then it be included in the text information area. So it's one at a time, submit, and then going back in. Also, to add a comment to the library, you just type in and hit the plus add to library option, and that adds your information directly into your comment library. So very easy to use. This comment library travels with you from course to course. So each course that you're teaching, your comment library will be available. Okay. Let me exit out of there. This is where you can put in the different icons. You've got a couple of icons. You can reassign the assignment. You can download the submission comments. You can download the actual annotated PDF over here on the left-hand side. And here's our paperclip that we saw earlier. We also have that video option, record media, or upload media. And then, so we have that. Hopefully, not going to work since we're in this connection. My camera used the Zoom Zoom, but we can choose which source.
Lori, your audio is breaking up.
Okay. So, no. Yeah. Okay. Did exiting out of that help? Okay, that's probably the reason why I probably shouldn't have gone into there. But that is an option that you can use to create video or upload media. And then you have this option as well. I'm not going to click on it because it'll probably steal the microphone from the Zoom session. But it is actually a text to speech option. So you would have to go in and actually do some punctuation, capitalization. It's not my favorite, but you can play with it and see if you like it. And maybe that would be a good option for you. Okay, we're finished looking at this one. Let's go to Jason. Oh, cancel. I forgot to hit submit. You have to remember to hit submit to save all of your options. So that's a good rule of thumb. If a submit button is available, go ahead and click it. Okay, I'm going to go to Jason Powell. Now, Jason used to be an IDC in our department. He's no longer with us. He's not a bad student, but he's going to portray one during the session today. So he has no submission. I have, here's all my rubric information here. I want to preface that it's always a good idea to have 0-point option in your rubric. Canvas is a little bit more lenient because you can provide a grade up here in this area for the course or for this particular assignment. So I can put a 0 in, and that is where the grade will flow directly into the grade book. But I can also go through here and select no evidence for each of these. So the student really knows that they didn't provide an assignment and they're not getting any information, any grade for this. I did type in, please email me so we can just discuss this missing paper. That is a great option for reaching out to students. One thing though is if they're not going into your course, if they haven't been in your course in several days, they might not see this feedback unless they have their notifications turned on to go out to their email. So maybe jotting down the student's name and reaching out to them through the UNT email might be a better option than saying it here. But just to, all I had to do is put the information here. No score, no submission, and then I go and hit submit. And that adds another option, or another comment for the student to view. And since I did that, I'm going to hit submit. And all of that information is going to be available to the student. So I'm going to go to Kathleen, and she's our star student in the class. She always does everything right. She's perfect. So I'm going to use some of the tools that we talked about earlier. I can choose different colors. I'm selecting the highlighter tool, and I can select different colors. So I can highlight, and I can provide a comment. And that's as simple as it gets, guys. You can do strike through. You can add a text box. Thank you for such a great paper. I could do the free draw. And I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to add and change the color and change it to green. So I can draw around a particular paragraph and create a comment. Box around the information. So I'm going to choose another color and highlight the reference area. Great job on references. So that is very simple. Reading through your students' assignments and making comments, you have all the options available here to make that happen. So if we go over to the right-hand side of the screen where all the feedback is, I can select exceeds, 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 and exceeds. So I can say submit assessment. I also can come up here, Kathleen got 100 points, and I'm going to put 100 points in here. Now, this is the grade, like I said before, is the grade that's going to flow into the grade book. If you wanted to give Kathleen a little bit extra points, you can do that. And that will flow into the grade book because she might have done such an excellent job on this particular paper that you wanted to reward her for that. I don't know if that's something that you would want to do or not, but it is an option. Anything over the score that has been assigned to the actual assignment, anything over that will be counted as extra points. So that makes it very easy to allow extra points for these particular assignments. Using SpeedGrader, I can go to my comment library and I can add in the paper is nicely formatted. Go back into the library and great job. And then submit again. So that's allowing me to put in my comments. If I wanted to provide more constructive feedback, if the paper wasn't as good as I thought it should be, I could type in exactly what the issues were and how to remedy that for the next assignment that is due later on. It's always good to go in and grade your assignments and have those all graded before the student is supposed to submit for the next assignment, same type of assignment. So they know what they did wrong and they will know how to correct it for the next one. So keep that in mind. Being timely with your grading is very important. And as you can see, I can still add all these other options that are available. So that is grading the actual assignment. If we want to go in and take a look at the discussion, I'll go back into the gradebook and I can click on the More Actions menu next to the discussion title and select SpeedGrader. And for discussions in the SpeedGrader, as you can see, there's no annotation options at the top. That's because they typed their response directly into Canvas. Right now I have it set where I can see all of the posts and in conjunction with what Kathleen mentioned in her post. So here it highlights Kathleen's post, but if I just wanted to see Kathleen's post in the SpeedGrader, at the very top of the screen, you can click on switch to individual post, and then now I just see Kathleen's post. Okay. I've read Kathleen's post. Now it's time for me to go into the rubric and complete the rubric and grade the actual paper. So quality of initial post discussion was great. The only thing is we didn't have, she didn't participate. She didn't provide any responses to any of the other students. So I'm going to say student does not respond to peers. I'm going to correct that in just a second. You'll see why. So everything else looked great. And I'm going to hit submit assessment. And that rubric's been saved. And I'm going to go back. So we had one student that didn't have a submission, and I'm not going to take points away from Kathleen since she didn't respond to that student. So I'm going to give her actually 10 points back because she wasn't able to respond to a student that didn't have a submission. And I know in most of your courses, you're actually going to have more than 3 students in your class, so it probably won't be an issue. But just to show you how easy that is to change, I can change that to 10 points, or I could leave it at 0. And instead of giving her 30 points, I can add the extra points up here in the grade out of area. So she earned 40 points because she didn't respond to the test student. But Jason didn't provide any submission, so she couldn't respond to him. So if I scroll down, I still have my option to add in comments. I'm just going to put that in, select it, and submit. And it's like, I missed, that isn't the correct one I wanted, so I can actually delete it. So they can be added and deleted as easily as that is clicking a button. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom. I'm going to hit submit. And then I'm going to go to Jason. And I've already graded his. He got a 0. I marked it as missing. We saw that information in the grade book, and there was it was a pink backdrop for missing assignments. And then for our test student, we have the same information, same options that we did for Kathleen. Switch to individual student. You can provide grades and everything that you do. But I want to jump over into the quizzes option, into the quizzes assignment type, so we can take a look at that and have room and time for questions. So if I pop over here to the More Actions menu and select SpeedGrader. So right now it says the following questions need review. question 4. So I'm just going to scroll down to question 4. And it says, what is the easiest object for us to observe and why? And Kathleen's answer was the earth because we're living on it. And, I'm going to give her brownie points for saying that because we do actually live on earth and we see it every day. But we were talking more about observing from here to into the skies. And maybe I should have been more specific on my question. So I'm going to give Kathleen 10 points out of 20 because I can do that. And I'm going to say update score. And then in my comments area, I'm going to select the moon is the correct answer. And it's easy to see based on brightness, size, proximity, predictable motion, visibility throughout the month. So I'm going to hit submit. And she's going to see, that she got the answer incorrect, but I liked her answer, so I went ahead and gave her 10 points for it. So the score has been updated to 40, and then I would just go through and mark all of those however I wanted. So I could say missing and put a 0 here, or excused, and then it actually excuses it right there, so you can see that in action. Submit. And then if I wanted to use the other option to move through the students, I'm going to use the right arrow in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And it's going to take me to the actual assignment that I graded for the student, the test student. They chose moon, they got 20 points. I put in the information, I updated the score, and it gave the test student 50 points. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit because that makes me feel more comfortable that my grade is being saved and my comments are being saved. And now I can pop out and go back into the gradebook. So at this time, what questions do you have?
We've gotten a lot of questions about the comment library, as I had expected. So just to recap, there was kind of an ongoing conversation. What was said, so everybody is aware. The question was, where did it go? Essentially about the comment library. If you add comments to your comment library, do they go to your other courses? Do other instructors see them? So
these are your comments. Yeah, these are your comments and the other instructors don't see them. So your TAs in your class do not see your comments. So they would have to create their own comment library. Does that answer the question?
Yes. However, Christopher said that his comments are shared with his teaching assistant. So I have reached out to, which goes against what I've been seeing in the Canvas guides, but hey, they change things all the time and don't tell us. So I have reached out to our LMS administrator and asked him, because I suspect it has to do with the role they're assigned in Canvas and what permissions that role has. So when I get more information on that, I can share that. And then we had a question about, can you use rubrics on discussions that have checkpoints? And so we've had some conversations going back about that, and the answer is yes. However, you have to manually enter the points in the specific checkpoint fields. And again, I'll say at this time because Canvas likes to change things all the time. But those were our questions so far. We've got some good conversation and commentary going in the chat. So this is fantastic. We like to see you guys engaged.
Very good. No other questions, comments, concerns?
There is one. I had to get, this is from Carthaginian. So he was asking if you download the comments as a PDF, like the feedback comments as a PDF, is it accessible? So my assumption with that is that would it have to be a tagged PDF for it to be accessible? And does Canvas do that automatically? I don't know, but my guess is probably not. But if you have a specific use case, feel free to unmute yourself and kind of pop in and maybe we can clarify a little bit better.
It looks like it's formatted correctly with headers and everything. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, so that's a good sign for sure. Okay. Any other questions? Laura?
So our rubrics, once we make them in one module, is it transferable across all our courses? A. And then B, when we copy that course, does it go with?
So when you copy the course, it does go with the course. The good thing is, well, the bad thing is that they don't go into all your courses, but the good thing is that you can export, you can download a selected rubric. So if I click on this rubric, I can download it, and then I can import it into my other course. So these options weren't available before. So this is a great advancement with rubrics and the rubric tool. Being able to import, if you had a coworker that had a wonderful rubric for their assignment and you wanted it, you would just ask them to download it and send it to you, and then you could upload it. Very simple, very easy.
Awesome. Thank you. I haven't
Great question.
started using them, but I'm very interested in it.
It makes grading a lot easier because, if your rubrics are detailed enough, let's take a look at this one. This one has a lot of information in it. If you provide, the descriptions and your ratings accurately, then you might not even need any additional feedback. So think about that too. Rubrics are nice, and the students can see the rubrics before they complete the assignment, so they know exactly what the recipe is to make 100 or a high score on the assignment. So just like Aubrey mentioned before.
And we have a similar question about the comments. Do they copy over to a new course shell as well?
I have not tried that. We will have to try it and get back to you.
I would assume that they do because they are associated with your
Right.
user account, not the course.
Right. We'll have to play around with it and double check. And we are going to send out a follow-up email with a link to the actual video, and we're going to provide the PowerPoint, and I can answer any questions that we aren't able to answer here, and I will test that out and provide that information in the follow-up email. Sound good?
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Christopher says, are there general rubrics like the discussion rubric we can use, or do we have to write them all ourselves? As I do now, he said that discussion rubric you showed was very good. So that actually might be, that's some really interesting feedback. I think we could definitely come up with maybe kind of a templated rubric, maybe, and maybe put it in our development shell so people could copy it over, and then you could just revise it and edit it as you need, specific to your content or your point structure. That's a fantastic idea, Christopher. I'm writing this down.
Yeah, that would be easy for us to do, is to download this and then upload it into our development shell. So when you're building a course, it'll be available. But I can also download it and send it to you if you wanted it. So, reach out if you want a copy of that rubric. Don't mind sharing it.
Can we include
So
the rubric when we share the PowerPoint slide? I feel like that's entirely reasonable. Yes. As long as the file size, which it should be fine.
Any other questions that we can answer for you before the time is up? We've got 5 more minutes. We're very happy to help answer your questions and walk you through the SpeedGrader tool in Canvas. We noticed that a lot of instructors weren't using it. They were actually downloading the papers and doing that on their computer and then re-uploading them. So this makes it a little, more streamlined and more efficient, saves you some time, and actually it allows you to give the students more feedback. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. We have some more trainings coming up. Make sure be on the lookout, sign up for those as well. Bye.